Discover the incredible journeys, 7 heartwarming comebacks that will change your life forever. In the heart of a small Midwestern town, where the morning sun seeped through the cracks of old buildings and the air filled with the sweet aroma of home-cooked meals, Sarah stood tall, albeit a bit weary. Her spirit boiled with the dreams she held for Mia, her spirited 8-year-old daughter who bounced into the kitchen every morning like a ray of sunshine. "Mom, I'm going to be an astronaut," Mia proclaimed, her eyes sparkling with ambition as she gulped her orange juice. While Sarah wore a brave smile, inside, her heart raced with the weight of reality. How would she ever afford the dreams soaring so high above their heads? Beneath the town's charming surface, struggles lingered. Families worked hard, but often barely scraped by. Sarah juggled 2 jobs, one as a waitress at Dottie's Diner and another cleaning offices after hours. However, her true motivation lay in Mia's dreams that deserved a solid foundation. One fateful day, while taking a shortcut through town, Sarah stumbled upon the old community center, its paint peeling and windows dusty. Memories flooded back, laughter echoing through the halls, arts and crafts, and a world of possibilities. An idea struck her like lightning. "Let us bring it back to life," she thought fervently. With her heart ignited, she rallied neighbors, each grappling with their own burdens, to host a fundraising event. As word spread, enthusiasm bubbled within her community, shedding light on their shared struggles. However, just as hope flickered, her estranged father resurfaced, a reminder of a family legacy that she thought she had buried. Old wounds reopened, and childhood scars whispered doubts into her mind. Could she truly balance between rekindling their relationship and pursuing the center's revival? Her heart twisted at the thought, the weight of familial conflict pressing down on her like a heavy blanket. Before she could grasp her thoughts, a local newspaper splashed her struggles across its front page. Headlines loomed over her, rife with judgment, tearing at her pride. Whispers swirled in the streets. Friends turned into strangers, once familiar faces now avoided her gaze. Frantic to shield Mia from the fallout, Sarah strove to put on a brave front, but Mia sensed her mother's pain, asking questions that cut deeper than any blade. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. Amidst the swirling chaos, a community meeting crackled with tension. Faces shifted from sympathy to skepticism in a heartbeat. On one side, tears streamed down faces as neighbors shared their own struggles. On the other, a charged voice questioned Sarah's worthiness to lead. That voice pierced her soul, echoing her deepest fears. Standing there, she felt the heat rising in her cheeks, the clench of her fists, and an ocean of tears welling in her eyes. As she prepared to share her truth, a sudden crash echoed from outside, and the room fell silent. Heart racing, Sarah turned to see the door swing open, revealing a familiar face, a face from her past that could either drag her deeper into despair or offer a ray of hope. A moment hung in the balance, and the world seemed to hold its breath. Would she find the healing she so desperately sought, or was this the final crushing blow that would send her dreams crashing down? The figure stepping through the doorway was no stranger to Sarah. It's her father, Jack. Weathered by years of absence, his face held a mix of regret and determination. Murmurs hummed through the crowd, uncertainty crackling in the air thicker than the tension already present. Sarah froze for a heartbeat, grappling with a whirlwind of emotions. Memories surged like a tide, cold shoulders, angry words, and the sting of disappointment. But there he was, vulnerable and waiting. "Dad?" Her voice trembled, breaking the delicate silence. Even saying his name felt foreign on her tongue. "Sarah, he began, but the words caught in his throat. The audience's eyes swung toward the man they'd heard rumors about, the long-gone father now coming to face the daughter he had abandoned. The community meeting fractured into whispers of disbelief. Some voices were sympathetic, while others were laced with disdain. Yet, all eyes remained glued to Sarah, who stood at the intersection of her past and present, vulnerable but unyielding. Taking a deep breath, she stepped forward, shaking from the weight of expectation. "I need to finish what I started," she said, her voice steady despite the storm churning inside. "I'm here to revive the community center, and I want everyone's support." The intention was there, brave and unapologetic, but the gaze of the gathering was both appraising and accusatory. Jack shifted, hands trembling at his sides. "I know I hurt you, and I'm so sorry," he said, his voice breaking. "But I want to help. I want to make things right. I've missed so much, I just want a chance." Silence enveloped the room again, every pulse of a heartbeat feeling like an eternity. Sarah felt the room pulsating with collective judgment and skepticism. Everyone was processing, sharing the burden of her history, each pulse whispering insecurities she'd long buried. "Why now?" she finally asked, her heart racing. "Why after all these years?" "Because I see hope, and I want a piece of it with you." His eyes glimmered, and Sarah wondered if they once mirrored the bright spark she saw in Mia just that morning. Her heart twisted. A part of her wanted to tear him down, to unleash the years of pain and abandonment. But in that moment, the thought of Mia's dreams kept rushing in, her need for a supportive family, a reconciliation possibility, and then, a voice from the group broke the tension. "You're not just going to waltz back in here and expect to fix everything." It was Mary, a single mother with struggles Sarah had witnessed firsthand. The tension didn't dissipate, it heightened, each set of eyes now darting between the two. "Look," Sarah jumped in, desperation creeping into her voice, "I understand the doubts. I do. But I'm out here trying to lift us all up. I can't change the past, but I can work towards a better future. Aren't we all trying for that?" Just then, Mia burst through the door, her small frame lit with excitement. "Mom! Guess what? I spoke to Mrs. Brady at school, and she wants us to do a bake sale. We can do it at the community center. Everyone can help." Laughter rang out, washing through the crowd like a refreshing storm. Eyes shifted back toward Sarah, the palpable tension easing. In her daughter's innocent enthusiasm, Sarah found a moment of grace amidst turbulent uncertainty. Jack took a hesitant step toward Mia. "That sounds like a great idea, kiddo," he said, his tone softer. Sarah's heart ached in that moment, torn between past pain and potential hope. Could she trust this man, the architect of her hurt, to be part of her family again? Would the community accept him? As the room filled with chatter about the bake sale, Sarah felt weight shift. It was a moment laden with possibility, yet shrouded in deeper questions. With everything on the line, could she truly embrace both her father and her community? Eager for resolution, she locked eyes with him across the room, their stories intertwined. "If we're going to do this, we need to share the truth together," she whispered to herself, but deep down, she couldn't shake the feeling whose truth would ultimately shape this new beginning. The chatter in the room bubbled with life, but Sarah felt distant, caught in the middle of a maelstrom. Her heart raced, a wild rhythm echoing her thoughts. She could feel the weight of the past pressing down, threatening to drag her under. Jack, her father, was trying to step back into her life, but could she let that happen? As she watched him interact with Mia, the lines on his face softened, weariness briefly replaced by the glimmer of hope. It was startling how quickly he slipped into this role of father in the shadows, now thrust back into the light. Yet, the churning doubts told her to be careful. Could he truly keep that light on? The room was flaring with energy. Conversations spiraled around her, some uplifting, others laced with bitterness. Mary's voice rang out again, sharper this time. "What guarantee do we have that he won't just disappear again?" Her question latched onto Sarah as if it were a hook, yanking at her resolve. Everyone's eyes swung back to Sarah, expectant and demanding answers. "Mary," Sarah said, gathering her thoughts carefully, "I can't answer that for him. All I know is," she paused, citing the uncertain territory she stood on, "I want to give him a chance. I want to give us a chance. Around her, the murmurs grew restless. Jack cleared his throat, stepping into the spotlight once more. Look, I can't change what I did. But I can offer who I am now, and I want that to matter. He glanced at Mia, then met Sarah's gaze, vulnerable yet fierce. I know it won't be easy, but I want to help your community. Can we focus on a future together rather than the ghosts of the past? Something shifted in the air. The crowd's skepticism hung like thick fog, but teetering beneath it was the fragile hope they all clung to. Sarah sensed it, a collective wish for healing, intertwined with the good intentions of a father desperate to win back his daughter. Maybe, Sarah said, if we do this bake sale together, it could be our first step. A chance to focus on what the community really needs and what we can build together. A fresh start. The crowd began to murmur again, a ripple of consideration sweeping through them. It wasn't a solid agreement, but it was enough for now, a shift away from hatred and distrust toward collaboration and possibility. Mia beamed, clearly excited by the prospect. Yeah. We can make cookies, cupcakes, and everything. We can help people come together, just like the community center should. She was blissfully unaware of the tension still simmering just below the surface. But then Mary's voice cut through the chatter once more, this time tinged with sympathy. I admire your courage, Sarah. But I also worry. This isn't just your journey, it's ours too. Sarah weighed the truth of those words. The community center wasn't just hers to revive, it belonged to everyone. You're right, Mary. It's a teamwork effort. And I can't do it alone. She paused, her fingers anxiously intertwined. I need your help, all of you. Can we come together for the sake of this community and, just maybe, for the sake of healing? A heavy silence filled the room before it started to crack, little by little. People began to talk among themselves, assessing the initiative. What had begun as tentative proposals morphed into budding excitement as ideas for the bake sale began to take shape. Jack watched, realization dawning in his eyes. He stepped toward Sarah, placing a hand on her shoulder. Together that's what it will take, isn't it? For the first time in years, Sarah felt the tremors of her wall begin to slip. But despite the warmth blooming inside, she couldn't ignore the lingering doubts that still danced in her mind. Together, she repeated, her voice a whisper that it was both a promise and a question. Would everyone truly come together, bonding over flour and frosting, or were the cracks in their past far too deep? As they began to talk logistics, excitement bubbling again through the crowd, the new concerns loomed like shadows at the edges of her mind. Would Jack's presence really make a difference this time? Would the community embrace him, or would the wounds of history drive them apart again? What if the next step forward wasn't as simple as it seemed? The buzz in the room began to shift, morphing from tense uncertainty into something almost tangible possibility. Sarah could feel her pulse synchronize with the rhythm of hopeful chatter. Ideas exchanged like treasures, people were eager to contribute. But even as her heart raced in rhythm with anticipation, doubt gripped her stomach. She glanced at Jack, who was animatedly discussing cake designs with Mia. Seeing the two together felt surreal. Just days ago, she had been grappling with the mere idea of him stepping back into her life. Now, he was in full swing, navigating conversations as if he had never left. The sight brought a mix of joy and anxiety. Could this father-daughter moment be real? Sarah? Mary's voice broke through her thoughts, catching her off guard. What's next? Sarah hesitated. She hadn't thought that far ahead. She had suggested the bake sale, but how far would they actually go? We'll need a plan, right? Who can help coordinate? I can take on the decorations, Mia chimed in, eyes sparkling at the thought of twinkling lights and bright banners. And I can handle the baking. I've got some great family recipes, someone from the back called out. Names began to fly back and forth, people began to carve out their roles. Slowly, Sarah felt the walls that encased her heart start to peel away. The collective energy twisted and swelled, as if the air itself lifted them, propelling them toward a shared goal. But just when she started to bask in the warmth of connection, her thoughts drifted back to Jack. He had a history, one laced with pain, one that had caused rifts she could still feel. Is this really enough? She thought, her heart whispering doubts. Can we really heal if moments like the past loom so large? As if reading her mind, Jack approached with a cup of water in hand. Everything okay? His voice was tinged with something softer than she had ever heard from him. Just thinking, she said, the words heavy on her tongue. What if we try all this and it doesn't work? Jack's expression shifted immediately, the weight of years palpable in his gaze. I've been where you are, Sarah. Questions never go away, but running won't help. I need to face what I've done, and so do you. The sincerity in his voice made her heart lurch. What if people don't forgive you? She blurted, an unexpected edge creeping in. This isn't just about me, he replied, taking a step back to create space yet pulling her in with a steadying gaze. This is about you, your community, and what we can build together. We can't predict every outcome, but we can try. His words paralyzed her for a moment, a stark reminder that true healing took boldness, a leap into the unknown. Sarah then turned to the crowd, eyes scanning the faces filled with hope and uncertainty. You all are willing to take this leap with us? The question floated through the air like a slow melody. A chorus of murmurs erupted. Yes. We got this. Together, we can. Their voices intertwined, stitched together by a fragile thread of hope. Yet, underneath the jubilant enthusiasm, Sarah felt the lingering weight of fear. Could they truly withstand the storm of the past? As the chatter grew louder, Jack leaned closer. Let's not rush into anything, okay? We've got to build slowly, one cookie at a time, just like you said. A tension untangled in her heart. One cookie at a time, she echoed aloud, feeling the warmth of that small phrase settle within her. As they continued to hammer out details, enthusiasm ignited in the crowd. Plans transformed into expectations. But deep down, echoes of doubt lingered, teasing her with the thought that everything could fall apart. Could one bake sale really bridge the gap and erase years of hurt? Just as the excitement reached a crescendo, a sudden knock interrupted the buzz. The door creaked open, revealing a stranger, mud-streaked and breathless. I heard about the bake sale and what's brewing here, he said, eyes darting between Sarah and Jack. I need to talk. The room fell silent, uncertainty blooming in a new direction. Sarah's heart pounded again as she wondered what this new figure could mean. Would he bring warning or wisdom? What did he know that could disrupt the fragile balance they had begun to build? The room held its breath, every eye trained on the stranger who had just barged into their fledgling plans. Sarah could feel the weight of apprehension settling in her chest. The air in the room grew thick with questions, suspicions, and curiosity. The man looked disheveled, his clothes splattered with mud and the remnants of a long day. As he took a step further inside, the bright light flickered off his sweat-drenched brow. I know this isn't the right time, he began, trying to catch his breath. But I need to share what I know. Jack shifted slightly, his protective instincts flaring. Who are you? He asked softly, but the tension was palpable. Name's Dale, the man replied, meeting Jack's gaze with a wary intensity. I grew up around here. I heard you're organizing a bake sale. It's more than just a sale, isn't it? What do you mean? Sarah's voice came out softer than intended, as if she were testing the waters. Dale rubbed the back of his neck, his eyes darting across the room. I heard whispers. People talking about making peace, rebuilding bridges. But there's history here. Things that won't just disappear with a plate of cookies. The crowd seemed to shift restlessly, the earlier excitement giving way to embedded memories that resurfaced. Sarah could feel the tension crackling around her. Would Dale's arrival bring hope, or rekindle old wounds? Jack stepped forward, his demeanor firm. You're right that they're SA history. But we can't let that scare us. We're trying to do something good here. Good intentions don't change realities, Dale shot back, his voice steady yet tinged with urgency. There are people who will resist you, who might try to sabotage what you're starting. A chill washed over Sarah. Doubt crept back in, gnawing at her resolve. So what should we do? Just give up because it's hard? She asked, her voice rising slightly. Dale raised his hands in a gesture of peace. No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying, he paused, as if weighing the gravity of his next words, you may need allies. People can help, but you might also find those who want to be ready to forgive, not yet. Silence fell again, deep and weighted. The once buoyant room now felt like a thick fog, dimming the cheer they had just built. Sarah's heart raced. Would fear choke their hope before it could bloom? Jack stepped alongside her, voice steady as he faced the group. If we're going to do this, we need honesty. We can't navigate the future if we're stuck in the past. We can't just hope for forgiveness, we have to work for it. Together. His words stirred something in her. The collective spirit of the room remained fragile, but somehow it sparked. Dale, she said, turning to the newcomer, if you know something, please share. We need all the help we can get. Dale regarded her for a moment, weighing her sincerity before nodding. Okay. There's a community center not far from here that's been abandoned for years. It holds history good and bad and could be the perfect place for a bake sale, if you can get the community behind it. Excitement buzzed in the corners of Sarah's mind. It wasn't just about baked goods, it was about bringing everyone together in a space where the past could be confronted. Yet, she shivered at the weight behind his suggestion. Do you really think we can get enough people to rally? Mia asked, her gaze flickering back and forth between Sarah and Jack. Dale nodded, an unexpected glimmer in his eye. Yeah, but it's going to take work. You've got to show them you care, that you're willing to face whatever comes your way. The crowd murmured, still uncertain about what lay ahead, but the tide was shifting. One bake sale could indeed be a portal to healing. But could they really pull it off amidst the looming shadows of their past? As Sarah's mind raced with thoughts of logistics, she felt hopeful and terrified all at once. So we start with the community center, she said, her voice steady, emboldened by their shared energy. Let us talk it out, plan it out. One step at a time, right? Dale smiled faintly. That's the spirit. Just then, Jack laid a reassuring hand on Sarah's shoulder, tapping into the newfound energy. But deep inside her, the doubts lingered. Would their efforts be enough to face whatever truths awaited them? What hidden stories stood in the way of healing? The path ahead was uncertain, but one thing was clear, they would need more than just cookies to confront the ghosts of their past. As the crowd began to discuss the center and how to bring the community to life, a sudden shout outside pulled everyone's attention back to the door. The sound of angry voices rose in a crescendo. Who's out there? Sarah's heart began to race. Would they face more resistance in their journey to bridge the gap? Would old enemies show up just when they thought they had a chance to finally heal? The door burst open, and a group of familiar faces charged in, their expressions a mix of anger and disdain. Sarah's heart dropped. It was the very people she had hoped to leave behind, a cluster of old friends turned bitter adversaries. They were here, and their presence threatened everything she had just begun to build. What are you doing here? One of them, Kyle, shouted, his voice slicing through the tension like a knife. You really think you can just waltz in and pretend everything's fine? The room bristled with unease. Everyone shifted, glancing between the newcomers and Sarah, who stood frozen in shock. This moment could shatter their fragile hopes. Everyone deserves a second chance, Kyle, Sarah finally managed, her voice trembling but resolute. We're trying to make things right. And by selling cookies? Another voice chimed in, Rachel, a once close friend now steeped in bitterness. You think a bake sale can erase years of stubbornness and betrayal? You took sides. Please, Sarah's voice cracked, but she pressed on. This isn't about taking sides. It's about coming together. Dale stepped forward, his brow furrowed with concern. We acknowledge the pain that exists. But we want to change things. We want everyone here to be part of it. Kyle laughed, a harsh sound that echoed in the room. Change. You think this community will just forget how you left us in the dust? No one's interested in your feel-good project. Sarah felt tears pricking at her eyes. The weight of anger and resentment hung in the air like a thick fog. Old wounds resurfaced, and she was reminded of nights spent crying over friendships that had crumbled under pressure. Was she really naive to think they could come together again? But she also felt a fierce determination swell inside her. We can't move forward, none of us, if we don't try, she said, her voice rising with passion. I know I hurt you. I know I let you down. But some wounds can heal. We just need to be willing to face the uncomfortable truths together. Why should we believe you? Rachel demanded, folding her arms defiantly. You're just going to run away again when things get tough. As silence cloaked the room, Jack stepped in, taking a moment to breathe before addressing their challengers. When Sarah approached us, she didn't reach for the easy way out. It's hard to say you're sorry. We're not asking for forgiveness immediately, but we want to take steps, real, tangible steps toward a better future. You can choose to be part of that change. There was a collective shift in the crowd. Some faces softened, but others remained fixed in discontent. Sarah held her breath, feeling the pulse of uncertainty. Look, I get it. It's not easy to forgive, it's not easy to trust, Sarah continued, her voice breaking through the tension. But we can't just throw away the good because of the bad. We have to rebuild. A murmur rippled through the group of old friends, glimmers of reluctance mingling with curiously hopeful glances. Those who shy away from growth are the ones who remain stuck in the past, Dale added, his tone steady and persuasive. We need to challenge ourselves, not just stay comfortable. In the eye of the storm, the room felt electric. Would they find the courage to break old habits? Could fear be transformed into camaraderie? But just as Sarah sensed the tide beginning to turn, Kyle shouted over them all, You really think we'll stand by and watch you tear this community apart with your half-hearted attempts? The caustic words hung heavy in the air, and Sarah's stomach plummeted. Doubt crept back in, gnawing at her. Is this where it ends? She thought frantically. Another chance wasted? As the old friend stood firm, Sarah's heart raced. Could they truly overcome the past? Would they fight for connection when everything seemed so broken? Just then, footsteps echoed outside, drawing everyone's attention again. The sound grew louder, and anticipation hung thick in the air. Sarah's heart pounded. Who else might join this pivotal moment? As the door swung open, a familiar face emerged, a beloved figure from there. Shared history, someone whose words had the power to tip the balance. Would they bring hope, or would they add to the chaos surrounding them? The door creaked slowly open, and Liz stepped through, her presence lighting up the room like a bolt of sunshine breaking through dark clouds. The tension didn't dissipate, but something shifted in the atmosphere. It was palpable. Sarah had grown up alongside Liz, they had shared dreams and laughter, secrets and fears. As she caught sight of her friend's familiar face, a flicker of hope sparked within her. Liz! Sarah cried out, her voice wavering with surprise and relief. Liz met her gaze, the warmth of recognition radiating from her. I got your message, Sarah. I wasn't going to miss this. She scanned the room, taking in the faces filled with skepticism and anger. What is going on here? Kyle's eyes narrowed as he weighed Liz's presence. It's none of your business, Liz. We're discussing how Sarah thinks cookies can fix everything. Actually, Liz said, stepping forward, it's about a lot more than cookies. It's about trust, about healing. It's about coming together to face the mess we've all created. The words hung in the air, mingling with the mood of disbelief. Sarah's heart quickened. Could Liz be the catalyst they needed? Dale nodded in agreement. Exactly. We've all been stuck in our respective corners. But what if we shifted our focus to understanding each other instead? Kyle looked ready to explode. This is ridiculous. You think opening a bakery and selling cookies will erase the hurt? What's next? A Hugs for Wronged Friends program? Stop acting like it's all or nothing, Liz countered, her voice steady yet full of emotion. If we dismiss these small steps, we'll never have a chance to jump into bigger changes. It takes baby steps to build a strong foundation. Sarah could hardly breathe as she watched her friends' expressions shift. Some looked inspired by Liz's words while others stiffened, still unwilling to relent. But she sensed the current starting to change. The vicious cycle of anger seemed to have lost a bit of its grip. Rachel's expression softened just the slightest bit. You think you can just waltz in and fix things? What do you even know about our pain? Liz's eyes glimmered with understanding. I might not know all the details, Rachel, but I know heartache. I felt it, too. We all have. But I also know what it's like to let someone back in. To let love in. It's the risk we take for a chance at healing. The room fell silent. Everyone seemed to absorb the weight of Liz's words as if they were tangible. Had they all forgotten what lay at the heart of their broken friendship? Trust doesn't come easy, Sarah added, sensing an opening. But maybe this can be a start. We need to take risks if we want to reconnect. Kyle crossed his arms, visibly torn. What if we try and still end up hurt? What if our trust is misplaced again? And what if it's not? Liz replied, taking a step closer. What if opening up to each other brings forth unexpected joy? We have to risk vulnerability to find out. A silent ripple of contemplation swept through the group. Sarah could feel her heart pounding, a mix of fear and hope surging within her. Would they take the leap of faith? Before anyone could respond, a voice cut through the tension, a familiar, deep tone that felt like home. You really think you can fix everything after all this time? Everyone turned. The room buzzed with anticipation as they caught sight of Jack's brother, Mark, stepping into the fray. He hadn't been seen in years and had been a crucial part of their shared past. What would he say? Would he empower them toward healing, or would he stoke the flames of resentment again? Mark's arrival could change everything. And suddenly, in that crowded room filled with stormy emotions, Sarah knew this moment was far from over. Mark paused at the threshold, his eyes scanning the room like a hawk assessing the landscape for predators. His presence had the air of authority that demanded attention, yet a hint of vulnerability lingered just beneath the surface. Mark. Sarah breathed, a swell of emotions crashing in her chest. He seemed older, wearier, but familiar. Memories of shared laughter and camaraderie flooded her mind. Hi, Sarah. He studied her for a moment, unyielding yet tender. I heard the commotion. I thought I'd see just how far you all have fallen apart. Kyle scowled. And what is that supposed to mean? Mark didn't flinch. It means I see friends who've turned into strangers. From where I stand, it looks like you're all circling the same old issues, stuck in the past. Liz stepped forward, defensive yet calm. That's why we're here, Mark. Trying to fix what's broken. We could all use this moment to choose something different. Mark's gaze shifted to her. You think you can waltz in and change things? Has that truly worked for anyone here? He gestured around the room, the skepticism thick in the air. The room held its breath, unsure of how to respond. Sarah felt her heart pounding in her chest. Could Mark be here to help or to drag them back into the chaos? Isn't that the point? Liz argued, her voice gaining strength. Sometimes it takes a new perspective to see things differently, to learn how to bridge the gaps or at least start a conversation. Mark's expression softened ever so slightly. And trust me, I get it. I know the pain of separation and the weight of past mistakes. But words alone don't heal wounds. They take action. They take vulnerability, and look around, the walls are still up. Rachel crossed her arms, a mix of admiration and resentment for Mark surfacing. And what do you suggest we do? Just bury the past as if it never happened? Mark locked eyes with her, the seriousness of his tone commanding respect. No, not bury it. Acknowledge it. Accept it. But also move forward. You can't grasp what lies ahead if you're fixated on what's behind. A murmur sparked among the group. Conversations had veered towards the nuances of their shared history, but now a sense of clarity filled the air. Could they really turn toward each other instead of away? Mark, it's easy to say that, Kyle interjected, but trusting again? That's a whole different ball game. Maybe, Mark replied solemnly, but wouldn't it be worth it to try? To take that leap of faith, even if it terrifies you? There was a hush as Sarah absorbed the weight of his words. It resonated with her deeply. Hypothetical trust felt infinitely better than continuing this painful existence of isolation. Mark moved forward, his eyes scanning the room again. You're all still friends fighting for a chance. You just need a little push. Suddenly, Dale spoke up. So what's the push? What do you propose? Mark exhaled, drawing everyone's focus. Let us share what we've been holding on to. What has kept us apart? Vulnerability has a way of bringing down walls. We can start with that. The idea hung in the air, electrifying yet daunting. Sarah's heart raced, the enormity of what Mark proposed washing over them. Would they really do this? Would they risk exposing their most painful truths? In that moment of shared silence, Sarah could feel the walls around her heart start to crack, just a little. Hope flickered small and fragile between them. But was this truly the path they needed? With one courageous step forward, could they reclaim what they had lost? As Sarah looked around, her gaze lingered on Liz, who wore an expression of quiet encouragement. The real question loomed in the room: could they all find the strength to share their secrets, or would fear keep them shackled in silence? The stillness hung in the air, thick with suspense. Sarah's heart raced, each beat echoing the uncertainty swirling inside her. Everyone's eyes turned to Mark, the silence punctuated only by the occasional crackle of the old floorboards beneath them. Okay, Sarah finally said, her voice barely above a whisper. I'll start. She felt a surge of courage that surprised even her. The words formed a thread that pulled her forward, weaving through the tangled web of her emotions. I've held on to this anger for so long. Anger at you all for disappearing when I needed you most. And at myself for letting it matter so much, she admitted, her voice gaining strength with each syllable. I thought if I built thicker walls, it would hurt less. But all it did was isolate me. Mark nodded, his expression softening. That's a start. It takes guts to admit that, Sarah. Rachel was next, her voice shaking. I thought it was my responsibility to hold everyone together. When things fell apart, it felt like I failed, like I was to blame for everything. The vulnerability raw in her words resonated with the others, each nod a shared understanding. Kyle shifted uncomfortably, fearing exposure. But something in him snapped. I used to think I could just tough it out. Handle my issues alone. But all I've done is push you all away, he said, locking eyes with Sarah. I miss my friends. I miss us. Liz stepped forward. I've been afraid, she admitted, her gaze dropping to the floor. Afraid to reach out, afraid of reopening wounds. I thought it was easier to pretend everything was fine while you all drifted farther away. The air felt electric, charged with honesty. Each confession was a brick removed from the walls they rebuilt. Mark's encouragement had sparked something deep within them. Dale finally spoke, his voice steady. I felt abandoned. I thought I was the only one struggling. Watching all of you move on, I felt like a ghost. In that moment, Sarah realized the power of their truths. Each shared fear and shame was a raw thread, weaving them back together. They had spent years locked inside their own pain, but now they were allowing light to seep through the cracks. As tears started to fill Sarah's eyes, she felt something shift inside her, a lightness, a glimmer of hope. The weight of isolation was lifting. There was still a long way to go, but she sensed the first steps were being taken. "Thank you for sharing," Mark said, breaking the fragile silence. "This is where healing begins, when we embrace vulnerability instead of shying away from it." Just then, the sound of footsteps echoed from the hallway. The door creaked open, and an unexpected figure appeared, Mia, their old friend, looking uncertain but hopeful. "Hey, I didn't know if I'd get the chance to see you all again." "I heard voices," she said, her wide eyes darting around the room, filled with memories both joyful and painful. Sarah felt her heart skip a beat. Mia had been the glue of their group, and her sudden presence felt like an enchantment stitching together the past and present. But what did this mean for them now? Would Mia be able to fill the gaps they had just begun to confront? The room held its breath once more, waiting for the answer to a question neither could voice yet. Could they truly find the strength to face their wounds together, even as they welcomed back a ghost from their past? In that moment, the room seemed to shrink, containing an entire universe of hope and anxiety. Mia stood there, a small light radiating warmth and innocence amidst the heavy atmosphere of vulnerability and raw emotion. Sarah's heart raced as she looked at her daughter. Would Mia's spirited presence shatter the walls they had just begun to break down, or would it further complicate the delicate threads of reconnection they had begun to weave? "Mia," Sarah finally managed to breathe, kneeling down to meet her gaze, "we're sorting through some things. It's about our friendships and making things right." An unspoken promise rested between them. A promise that they could heal together. "Can I help?" Mia's voice cut through the tension, bright and clear. The sincerity in her eyes ignited a spark that even the adults couldn't ignore. Sarah met the questioning gazes of her old friends, each person grappling with their own past and fears. Suddenly, something shifted among them. Kyle spoke first, his tone softer. "Yeah, Mia, you can definitely help." There was a shift, a subtle nudge away from bitterness and back towards connection. Jack, standing beside Sarah, took a step closer to Mia. "What a great idea. We're all working on this together, and every piece counts." The simple acknowledgement felt warm, like a hug spreading outward. As if understanding the gravity of this moment, Mia grinned brightly, her excitement uncontained. "I know how to make cookies. My mom's recipe is the best," she exclaimed, her enthusiasm washing over every adult in the room like a refreshing wave. Laughter erupted, and with it, hearts began to lighten. Slowly, others started to share, encouraged by the innocence of Mia's unwavering spirit. "I remember my grandma's cookies," Rachel said. "She used to say they were made with love. Maybe that's what we need more of." Each person found their voice, speaking of brighter memories that had once connected them, memories now overshadowed by the pain of their past. They reflected on days spent sharing laughter and simple joys, bringing forth a longing for those connections to flourish again. "We can bake together," Liz suggested, a smile spreading as the warmth of nostalgia settled in. "We could use that to help fund the community center." "Yes." Dale chimed in, the hopeful spark igniting in him as he joined the conversation. A bake sale could not just be about raising funds but also repairing bonds. The idea flowed joyfully through the room as heads nodded enthusiastically, transforming the fragile hope into something tangible, real, and bright. As the emotions swirled, Sarah locked eyes with Jack. Something new shimmered there, an unspoken understanding woven into a promise. They both realized this, too, was part of the healing. It was about working together, facing the storms of their souls while holding hands. Would they stumble? Absolutely. But they were willing to rise from the ashes, piece by piece. Mia looked at everyone gathered and declared, "Okay. Maybe we should call ourselves the Cookie Crew." Laughter rang out again, and the air felt lighter. Sarah felt a tear roll down her cheek. It was a mix of sorrow from the past and joy for the potential of what lay ahead. A raw and real acknowledgement of their journey. "The Cookie Crew," she echoed, her voice thickening with emotion. In that moment, she understood the power of community, kindness, and the important role they must all play. People had walked through life bearing each other's burdens and realizing that pain didn't have to push them apart, but could very well be the catalyst to draw them together. "Let us make this happen, together," Sarah called out, her voice soaring with clarity. "Let South fill this place with hope, laughter, and love." And as each person stepped forward, offering their own unique strengths to the Cookie Crew, something miraculous began to unfold. The energy danced around them, crafting a tapestry woven with old strains of hurt now transformed into vibrant threads of trust and friendship. Sarah could finally see a way forward through the fears of the past and toward a future bursting with possibility. She could feel Mia's warmth beside her. It felt like the very roots of new beginnings taking hold. With arms outstretched and encompassing the warmth of renewed connections, they leaped into action, united like never before, and just like that, a small slice of the world began to heal. This is where the journey of transformation starts, but it doesn't have to end here. You need to subscribe now to stay updated with more life-changing stories like this. Hit that like button now to help spread this inspiring message and tell your friends to share it too. Don't wait not even one more second. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need a little hope and light in their lives. We're in this together, and every action counts. Comment below with what you felt while watching this journey unfold. We want to hear your voice.